Welcome to Pillow Talk Dreams, where every night becomes a story and every story leads you to peace. If you love calm voices, gentle journeys, and stories that help you drift into dreams, then don't forget to subscribe and let your nights be a little softer. Now close your eyes and let the story begin. The Curse of Pyramid Lake. True American deadliest haunting story in the silent deserts of northern Nevada lies a lake older than memory itself, Pyramid Lake, a place where the water glows blue under the moon and the mountains stand like guardians carved by time. But beneath its beauty lives a haunting older than the tribes who settled there, older than the stories whispered by firelight, older even than the pyramids of Tufa rock that give the lake its name. This is the story of the curse of Pyramid Lake, America's deadliest and most mysterious haunting, told as a slow, atmospheric sleep story. Let the desert winds guide you, let the water carry you, and let the spirits speak. The desert always seemed to breathe at night. When the sun fell behind the jagged teeth of the mountains, the cool air swept across the sands like a living thing, soft, slow, aware. Travelers who camped alone often said they felt watched, though no footprints marked the earth. No movement disturbed the silence. On the edge of Pyramid Lake, a young ranger named Elias Carter tightened his coat and listened to the shifting wind. The sky stretched infinite above him, painted in fading streaks of purple and gold. The lake shimmered, dark and deep, reflecting the early stars like scattered sparks drifting on ink. Elias wasn't afraid of the dark. He wasn't afraid of the desert. But tonight, something felt different. The elders from the Paiute tribe had warned him earlier that morning. A new moon meant restless spirits, and Pyramid Lake had many. Yet Elias, practical and calm, only nodded respectfully. He'd worked here 5 years. He knew the stories, the water babies, the drowned souls, the woman who cried near the Tufa rocks, searching for her lost child. Stories meant to keep people safe. But tonight he sensed something more, a pressure in the air. A distant cry carried across the water, a ripple with no wind. Elias stepped closer to the shoreline. The gentle lapping of water echoed like breaths, slow, steady, ancient. Just the lake, he muttered. But then the ground beneath his boots trembled, just once, as if something beneath the water had awakened. The tremor vanished as quickly as it came. Elias crouched and dipped his gloved hand into the freezing water. It was still, calm, quiet. But the moment his fingertips touched the lake, a whisper brushed his ear. A woman's whisper. "Don't look down." Elias jerked back, breath catching in his throat. He spun around, searching the shoreline, the hills, the shadows, but no one was there. The desert was empty. A howl rose from the far side of the lake, not an animal's cry, but something hollow, echoing, almost human. Elias stepped back instinctively. He knew the legend. The Paiute spoke of a woman who wandered the water's edge on moonless nights, mourning the child she had lost to the depths centuries ago. Some said she lured travelers into the lake. Others said she warned them. Before Elias could decide which version he believed, a sharp splash sounded from the dark water. Then another, then another. Subtle at first, like pebbles dropped one by one, but quickly growing louder closer until the surface of the lake seemed alive with movement. Elias backed away slowly. The water stilled all at once, and a single figure rose from the center of the lake, not walking, not swimming, standing on the water. Elias froze. The figure was small, childlike, its outline pale and wavering in the darkness. A soft glow pulsed around it like moonlight trapped in water. And then it screamed, a sound like water ripping apart, a sound that didn't belong in this world. Earlier that day, Elias had visited the tribal settlement to deliver routine ranger reports. The elders gathered around a fire outside the lodge, their eyes deep and knowing. Elder Marna, her silver hair braided with small turquoise stones, studied Elias with a seriousness he rarely saw. "The lake is uneasy," she said quietly. Elias smiled politely. "Storm coming," Marna shook her head. "Not a storm of wind, a storm of spirits. The water remembers things that humans forget. Things buried never stay buried here." Another elder, Tavo, stirred the fire. "The curse stirs again," he murmured. Elias frowned. "What curse?" Marna's eyes flickered. "The curse of betrayal, the curse of loss, the curse of a child taken too soon." Elias felt the old familiar discomfort. He respected the tribe deeply, but he didn't believe in curses. "Be cautious tonight," Marna whispered. "Do not go near the water after sunset, not on the new moon, not when the air grows heavy." But he had gone, and now the warning echoed in his mind as he stared at the screaming, glowing child standing on the lake. He wanted to run, but he couldn't move, not even when the child pointed at him, not even when the water behind it began to boil, not even when something enormous began rising from the depths. Elias could not breathe. The lake, moments ago a mirror of stillness, churned like a waking beast. Waves rose and crashed against the shore, though no wind stirred the desert air. The glowing child remained fixed on the surface, its hollow eyes locked on Elias as though urging him, warning him to flee. But he stood rooted in place. A low rumble vibrated beneath his boots. The dark water behind the child bulged upward, trembling violently, as if something massive strained to break free from the depths. Elias stepped back. The surface split. A towering column of water surged upward, twisting into a spiraling shape, half wave, half creature. The swirling mass took on the outline of a monstrous figure, its body shifting like a storm trapped in human form. Arms of water stretched outward, dripping and reshaping with every second. The air grew icy. Elias' breath formed clouds in front of him. The child's scream faded into a thin whimper. It turned toward the watery giant, its small frame trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. Then Elias heard it, a voice deep, ancient, layered like the echo of mountains. "Return what was taken." Elias staggered back. What are you?" he managed. The watery figure leaned forward, its face forming only in fragments, eyes that were bottomless wells, a mouth that opened into darkness. "Return the child." Elias' heart hammered. I don't understand," the lake roared. A blast of icy wind shot from the water creature, knocking Elias to the sand. He rolled, coughing, vision blurring as the world shook around him. From somewhere in the chaos, he heard the child crying, a sound of pure grief, a sound that echoed with centuries of sorrow. The water giant lifted an arm high, towering several stories above the lake. The surface below rippled with violent energy. And then it struck. A massive wave hurtled toward Elias. He scrambled to his feet, sprinting toward the rocks as the wave crashed onto the shore with a deafening roar. Water surged around him, freezing, dragging, pulling him back toward the lake like unseen hands clutching his legs. Elias grabbed onto a jagged rock, clinging with every ounce of strength. The water tugged harder, his grip slipped. For a moment he felt himself sliding backward toward the black, churning depths. But then everything stopped. The water stilled. The cold faded. The monstrous figure slowly dissolved into mist. The crying child dimmed like fading moonlight, then vanished. The lake returned to silence. Elias collapsed to the sand, trembling. He wasn't sure how long he lay there, seconds, minutes, maybe hours. But eventually he pushed himself up, heart still pounding. He stared at the calm surface. "What do you want from me?" he whispered. The lake did not answer, but Elias knew this was only the beginning. The sun had not yet risen when Elias returned to the Paiute settlement. His clothes were still damp from the lake, his boots heavy with sand, and his mind echoing with the voice of the water giant. Return what was taken. Every step felt unreal, like he was walking through the dream of another man. Smoke curled from the chimneys of the early morning fires as the tribe began to stir. Dogs barked softly. Children whispered sleepily from inside their lodges. But when Elias approached the elders' lodge, they were already waiting. Elder Marna stood outside, her eyes sharp as obsidian. "You went to the water," she said, not accusing but certain. Elias swallowed, the memory of the child's scream tightening his chest. I didn't mean," before he could finish, Elder Tavo stepped beside her. "You saw them." Elias nodded slowly. "The child and something else, something enormous, it spoke to me." The elders exchanged a long, heavy look. Marna motioned him inside. "Sit," she said. "There is much you must hear." Elias knelt beside the fire, its glow warming his cold hands. Marna lowered herself across from him, the flames reflected in her deeply lined face. She began with a breath, slow, steady, as though she were gathering the weight of years. "Long ago," she said, "before the white settlers came, before the lake shrank and the desert swallowed the trees, our people lived in balance with the spirits of Pyramid Lake. They protected us, we honored them." Tavo's voice joined hers, low and steady. "But there was one spirit," he said, "who demanded more than offerings, a spirit bound to the deepest part of the lake, the keeper of the drowned." Elias shivered. The watery giant flashed across his mind. Marna nodded. "Yes, what you saw." Elias leaned forward. "It told me to return what was taken. I don't know what that means." Marna's expression darkened. "Then the curse has returned in full." Tavo walked to a wooden chest at the corner of the lodge. From inside, he withdrew a wrapped bundle of deerskin. He laid it carefully before Elias. "What's this?" Elias asked. Tavo unwrapped it. Inside was a small carved figurine, shaped like a child. The wood was blackened, water-worn, ancient. Elias felt a chill crawl up his spine. "A doll," Marna shook her head. "A grave marker." Elias blinked. "I don't understand." Tavo sat beside him. "A child was taken long ago," he said. "Taken by settlers who sought to claim the land around the lake. They ignored our warnings. They broke our agreements. And when the child's mother ran to the lake in grief, the waters opened for her." Marna whispered. "The spirit promised revenge. Not on the settlers alone, but on any who disturbed the balance." Elias swallowed hard, but that was centuries ago. Marna's eyes narrowed. "The lake does not forget." Tavo placed the figurine into Elias' trembling hands. "You were not chosen by accident," Tavo said. "The spirits cry out to you because the disturbance has begun again. Someone has awakened the old wound." Elias stared at the blackened carving. "The giant said to return what was taken," he whispered, "but I don't know what that is." Marna reached out and clasped his hands around the figurine. "You will," she said, "because now, Elias, the lake has claimed you." Elias sat frozen, the weight of the ancient figurine heavy in his hands. The carved child seemed almost warm to the touch, as though the lake's sorrow lived inside the wood. The fire crackled softly between them, throwing shadows that danced like restless spirits along the lodge walls. Tavo spoke first. "There is more you must know." Elias braced himself. "More," Marna nodded gravely. "The curse does not awaken without reason. Something or someone has disturbed the waters." Tavo stepped closer, lowering his voice. "A ranger went missing 3 nights ago." Elias' breath caught. "What? Who?" "Ranger Dana Mercer," Marna said. "She was on patrol near the western cliffs. Her radio went silent. Her truck was found abandoned the next morning." A chill ran down Elia's spine. Dana was reliable, calm, experienced, always cautious around the lake. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" he demanded. Marna's expression softened. "Because we were hoping she was lost in the desert and not taken by the lake." Elia stared at the figurine in his hands. "You think the spirits took her?" Tavo's silence was answer enough. Marna leaned in. "The night she disappeared, several of our hunters heard a child crying near the shore." Elia's pulse quickened. "The same child I saw," Marna nodded slowly. "Perhaps, or perhaps a different one. The lake holds many." Tavo began pacing beside the fire. "The keeper of the drowned does not appear unless the balance is broken. The missing ranger, the screams, the water rising, these are signs." Elias felt his throat tighten. "So what do we do?" Marna's gaze settled on him. "You must go back to the lake." Elias nearly dropped the figurine. "Back, after what I saw. You must," she insisted. "The spirits chose you. That is why the lake spared your life last night." Elias shook his head. No, that thing, whatever it was, it tried to drown me." Tavo stopped pacing. "If it truly wanted you dead, Elias, you would not be here." The elders let the statement hang in the air. Slowly, Elias stood, heart pounding. "If I go back, what am I looking for?" Marna handed him a small bundle wrapped in red cloth. "What's this?" "Protection," she answered. "Herbs, stones, and charcoal from our sacred fire. Carry it with you." Elias slipped the bundle into his pocket. Tavo handed him a lantern, one older than anything Elias had seen in his ranger station. Metal tarnished, glass slightly warped. "It burns even in the wind," Tavo said. "And the spirits dislike its light." Elias swallowed. "And the figurine," Marna gestured toward the lake. "You must return it to where it was taken from." Elias looked at her, confused. "But where is that?" Her eyes darkened. "The lake will show you." The thought filled Elias with dread. Tavo stepped closer. "There is one more thing." Elias met his gaze. "When you hear the child weeping," Tavo said softly, "do not follow the voice." Elias frowned. "Why not?" Marna answered for him. "Because the spirit that cries is not always a child, and not everything that calls your name wants to be found." By the time Elias reached the western cliffs, the sun had already begun its slow descent behind the mountains. The sky bled streaks of amber and violet, casting long shadows across the desert floor. The wind had stilled completely, a sign that the lake was watching. Elias stepped out of his truck and tightened his coat. The air felt colder here, heavier, as though the world were holding its breath. Dana Mercer's abandoned vehicle sat exactly where the search teams had left it, half buried in drifting sand. The driver's door hung open, swaying gently, even though there was no breeze. Elias approached cautiously. "Dana," he called. His voice was swallowed by the silence. He shone his flashlight inside the cab. Her radio lay on the seat, cracked. Her ranger hat rested on the dashboard, but there were no signs of a struggle, no footprints except her own. He stepped back and scanned the area. The cliffs here rose like jagged teeth above the lake, sharp and uneven. At their base, narrow trails snaked downward toward the shoreline. It was there on the path that he saw it. A single wet footprint, small, child-sized. Elias' breath tightened. He followed the print cautiously, lantern in hand. The light flickered strangely, the flame moving in spirals instead of straight lines. As he descended, the lake came into view, vast, dark, impossibly still. He felt the shift immediately. The air trembled, the world grew colder. The lantern flame jumped high, then shrank. A sound drifted across the water, soft, fragile, weeping. A child's weeping. Elias froze. Tavo's warning echoed sharply in his mind. "Do not follow the voice." Elias shut his eyes, steadying his breath. "It's a trick," he whispered. But the crying grew louder, closer, like a child hiding behind the rocks just ahead. He tightened his grip on the lantern. "Dana," he called, forcing calm into his voice. "If that's you, say something, please." The crying stopped. For a moment there was only the rhythmic lap of water. Then Elia's. He nearly dropped the lantern. It wasn't Dana's voice. It wasn't a child's. It was a wet, bubbling whisper like someone speaking from beneath the water. He stepped back. The water near the rocks rippled. Then a hand broke the surface. Pale, small, dripping. It gripped the edge of the rock and pulled. A child's face rose slowly from the lake. Eyes black, hair floating like weeds, mouth trembling in a silent scream. Elia staggered back. Another ripple, another small figure surfaced beside the first. Then another, and another. 4, 5, 7, all children, all silent, all staring directly at him. Elias forced himself to breathe. The lantern flickered violently. The children began to whisper in unison, their voices layered, echoing, impossible. "Return what was taken." Elias clutched the figurine in his pocket. "I don't know what you want," he yelled, his voice cracking. The children's heads tilted simultaneously, slow, unnatural. Then the water behind them bulged. A deep rumble shook the cliffside, and the keeper of the drowned began to rise. The keeper of the drowned rose from the water like a living storm. Its massive form twisted upward, made of swirling, churning black water that shimmered with the light of drowned moons. Dozens of faces, blurred, distorted, shifted within its body, appearing and disappearing like trapped souls reaching for the surface. The crying children scattered, sinking beneath the water in an instant, leaving only ripples behind. Elias stumbled backward, gripping the lantern so tightly his knuckles ached. The keeper leaned forward, towering over him, the air vibrating with its presence. A voice emerged from the depths of its chest, echoing, ancient, layered with countless others. "The stolen must be returned." Elias shook his head desperately. "I don't understand. I don't know what was stolen." The keeper raised an arm, a colossal limb of water and shadow. The lake thundered beneath it. Elias dropped to his knees. "Please, just tell me what you want from me." For a moment, the world fell silent. Then the keeper spoke again, slower this time. "The child, taken by blood not yours, buried in land not theirs, carried from the mother to the desert wind." Elias blinked, confused. "A child taken by settlers." The keeper's form rippled violently. "A child taken and never returned." Elias thought of the figurine in his pocket, the grave marker. Suddenly, a cold realization slammed into him. "You mean this belongs to the lake?" The keeper's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "The marker holds the child's spirit. Without it, the waters cannot rest." Elias pulled the carving from his pocket with trembling hands. The wood felt warmer now, almost pulsing. The keeper lowered its massive head until its hollow, shifting face hovered mere feet above Elias. "Return it to the heart of the water." Elias' throat tightened. "You want me to swim out there?" The giant leaned closer. "The heart of the water calls to you." Elias shook his head. "I'll drown. I can't do that." The keeper suddenly slammed its arm into the lake. A tidal wave surged upward like a wall of black glass. Elias screamed, bracing for the impact. But the wave stopped, frozen just inches from his face, held in place, suspended by the keeper's will. "You will not drown if you honor the child." The wave collapsed gently, soaking the rocks around him. Elias gasped for breath. The keeper's massive form began to darken, dissolving into steam and mist. Before slipping back into the depths, it spoke a final time. "Bring the spirit home before the sun rises thrice, or the lake will take what it is owed." The water stilled. Silence returned. Elias fell to the rocks, shaking. He now had a mission, and only 3 days to complete it. Elias drove back toward the ranger station in a daze, the figurine clutched in his palm like a living pulse. The keeper's final words echoed through his thoughts: 3 sunrises, 3 days before something terrible would happen. But what? Another ranger taken, the lake rising, or something far worse, something ancient. He didn't want to imagine it. The desert around him darkened as night fully claimed the sky, and the stars flickered into existence one by one, cold, distant watchers over a land where spirits never slept. When he reached the small wooden outpost, Elias stepped inside and locked the door behind him. The lantern still burned, its flame steady despite the trembling of his hands. He dropped into a chair and spread out a map of Pyramid Lake. "What is the heart of the water?" he whispered. The map showed depths, currents, rock formations, but nothing that looked like a heart. He traced the deepest point of the lake, the dark central basin known by locals as the Hollow. Search divers avoided it. Sonar readings went strange there. The water temperature dropped unnaturally. Maybe that was it, a place where the oldest spirits slept. As he stared at the map, a faint knock tapped on the window. Elias jolted upright. The station was miles from the settlement. No one should be out here. He approached the window slowly. Another tap. He raised the lantern. A small face pressed against the glass. A child, eyes black, skin gray and dripping. Elias stumbled back as the face vanished. His heart pounded violently. He rushed to the door, unlocking it with shaking hands, swinging it open, nothing. Just desert wind and silence. Then splashes, soft ones, coming from the direction of the lake. Elias felt a pull inside his chest, like an invisible thread tugging him forward. The children were calling, but he remembered Marna's warning. Not everything that cries wants to be found. Still, he had to find answers. He followed the faint sounds down the sandy path toward the shoreline. As he neared the water, the moon broke through a patch of drifting clouds, bathing the lake in pale silver. At the edge of the water, something floated. Elias knelt slowly. It was a scrap of fabric, green, torn Dana Mercer's jacket. Elias' chest tightened. "Dana, you're still alive." He looked out at the water, calm now, deceptively peaceful. The figurine in his hand warmed. He held it up and watched as the wood shimmered faintly, glowing with a soft golden pulse pointing toward the center of the lake, toward the hollow. "The heart," Elias whispered. He returned to his truck and pulled out a small motorized raft used for search operations. His hands moved quickly, fueled by adrenaline and dread. Within minutes, the raft skimmed across the surface of the lake, heading into open water. The lantern's flame flickered wildly as he approached deeper waters. Halfway across, the wind died. The world grew perfectly still. The water around the raft turned black, darker than the night sky. Ahead, a mist rose from the lake in a perfect circle, unnatural, unmoving. He had found it, the hollow. Elias stopped the motor. The figurine vibrated in his hand. He took a deep breath. "Okay," he whispered. "I'm here." The lake rippled. Something moved beneath the raft. A shape, large, slow, circling. Elias forced himself to stay still. The figurine pulsed again, faster, brighter. He held it over the side of the raft. A whisper rose from the water, soft, echoing, ancient. "Return the child." Elias closed his eyes and lowered the figurine into the depths. The moment it touched the surface, the lake erupted. A column of water shot upward beneath the raft, throwing Elias backward into the freezing darkness. He plunged beneath the surface, the cold ripping the air from his lungs. Hands, small, countless hands, grabbed his arms, his legs, his coat, pulling him deeper, dragging him toward the bottom of the hollow. He screamed, bubbles bursting from his lips. Above him, the surface rippled like a distant sky. Below him, the darkness opened and the keeper waited. Alex awoke to a thick, unnatural silence. The desert wind, which never truly slept, had stilled completely. The cabin felt colder than before, so cold his breath came out in faint clouds. Something was wrong. He could feel it, like a weight pressing against his ribs. Emma was already awake, sitting at the edge of her bed, eyes wide and fixed on the window where the early dawn should have been glowing. Instead, the world outside was a muted gray, like the sun was being smothered. "Do you feel that?" she whispered. Alex nodded. "It's like the whole place is holding its breath." Then they heard it, the soft, rhythmic thumping of footsteps outside the cabin. Slow, measured, too heavy to be human. The floorboards vibrated with each step. Alex's heart hammered. Emma grabbed his arm. "They know we saw the paintings. They know we're close." Another footstep, closer. Alex swallowed. "Stay behind me. We're getting out now." But before he could reach the door, the air in the cabin shifted. A cold gust swept through, snuffing out the lanterns. In the darkness, a shape formed, a towering silhouette marked by shifting sands and hollowed-out eyes that glowed faintly like dying embers. The Guardian. Its voice was a deep rumble, the sound of stone sliding against stone. "The curse is awake, and so are you." Emma screamed as the cabin walls began to distort, stretching and bending inward like clay. The Guardian raised a hand and the ground beneath them cracked open. Alex grabbed Emma's hand. "Run!" They sprinted out the back door just as the cabin collapsed into the earth. The desert outside was unrecognizable. Rippling dunes where there had been flat ground, blackened rocks pulsing like ancient hearts, the smell of sulfur floating in the air. The lake was glowing, a bright deep blue swirling with shapes beneath the surface. "We have to go there," Emma said, breathless. Alex stared at her. "To the lake, Emma, that's where the curse began." "Exactly," she said. "If there's any way to end this, it's at the source." They made their way down the fractured hillside, dodging fissures that opened and closed like breathing mouths. The Guardian stayed behind them, its heavy footsteps shaking the ground. As they reached the lake, the water rose unnaturally high, forming spirals as if responding to an unseen command. Emma approached the edge. "Look," she whispered. Beneath the water, the shapes resolved into faces, men, women, and children, all frozen in expressions of terror. The lost tribe, the missing campers, the nameless souls claimed over centuries. Alex felt his stomach drop. They're trapped, the lake is their prison. The Guardian appeared behind them. "Break the circle or join them." Emma stepped forward, trembling but determined. "How do we break it?" The Guardian extended an arm, pointing to the water. "Enter, face what lies beneath. Only then may the lake release its dead." Alex grabbed her wrist. "Emma, no, we go under, we don't come back." Emma looked into his eyes. "If we don't try, we already won't come back." Before Alex could stop her, she plunged into the lake. The surface swallowed her instantly. "Emma!" he shouted, diving after her. Underwater, there was no cold, no pressure. Instead, Alex found himself sinking through what felt like endless blue light. The lost souls reached toward him, their fingers brushing his skin, not to harm, but to guide. He saw Emma ahead, swimming toward a massive stone tablet resting at the lake's floor. It was carved with the same symbols from the cave, a depiction of a tribe dragged into the earth by a shadow with burning eyes. Together, they touched the tablet. The moment their hands met the stone, a shockwave of blinding light erupted, racing upward through the water and exploding into the sky above the lake. Alex felt everything rip apart: time, sound, memory, until there was only silence. Then darkness. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on the sandbank, coughing up water. Emma lay beside him, breathing but unconscious. The Guardian was nowhere to be seen. The lake was still, calm, normal. Alex sat up slowly. Emma, I think we did it. She opened her eyes weakly. The faces, they were fading. I think they're free. As the sun finally rose over Pyramid Lake, the curse seemed to dissolve with the last remnants of night. But in the distance, on the cliffside above the water, Alex saw something move, a dark figure watching them silently. And then it vanished. Alex swallowed hard. Maybe the curse didn't end. Maybe it just changed. Emma took his hand. Then we stay together. Whatever comes next, we face it. The wind finally returned, brushing softly across the lake as if whispering its approval. But deep beneath the surface, unseen by human eyes, something stirred again. The story wasn't over. For a long moment, Alex and Emma simply sat together on the sand, listening to the returning breeze whistle through the rocks. The world felt lighter, like something old had finally exhaled. But beneath that fragile peace was an unease that Alex couldn't shake. The way that shadow had watched them from the cliff. The way the lake had gently rippled after their escape. The way Emma kept glancing back, as though something were whispering to her. "Do you hear that?" she asked finally. Alex stiffened. "I don't hear anything," Emma shook her head. "Exactly. The birds, the insects, the water, everything is quiet again. Too quiet." Alex scanned the lake. It lay still, mirror smooth, reflecting the soft pink of the rising dawn. But then there, a shift beneath the surface, a pulse. "We ended it," Alex said quickly, like saying it aloud might make it true. "We broke the tablet, we freed the tribe, the water trembled." Emma stood, brushing the sand from her clothes. "Something is still down there, not the curse, something older. Something the curse kept trapped." Alex's jaw tightened. "You think we released it?" Emma didn't answer. She didn't have to. A sudden splash shattered the stillness. Something dark broke the surface of the water just for a second. A burst of black, swirling mist, and then it was gone. Alex felt the hairs on his arms rise. "Okay, we're leaving. Now." They hurried toward the path that wound back to the highway, slipping between jagged rocks and loose gravel. But the trail looked different now, steeper, narrower, as though the earth had twisted while they were underwater. Emma paused. "These rocks weren't like this before." "Keep moving," Alex said. "We're not staying long enough to figure out why." Halfway up the trail, a low rumble echoed across the lake. Alex spun in time to see the water lifting, rising in a spiraling column, swirling with grit and flecks of black shadow. "Run!" he shouted. They broke into a sprint. The spiraling water grew larger, a towering vortex twisting upward like a tornado made of living shadow. Tendrils whipped out from it, slashing against rocks and leaving deep gouges. Halfway up the hillside, Emma stumbled on a loose stone. Alex caught her arm just in time. "I'm okay," she gasped. "Go," a tendril lashed toward them. Alex shoved Emma behind a boulder. The tendril smashed into the stone, cracking it down the middle. "It's coming after us," Emma cried. Alex yelled back, "No, it's not. It's searching for something else." Because now the vortex had slowed, hovering near the shoreline, pulling the water inward as if trying to find something hidden beneath the sand. Emma watched, breathing hard. "It wants the tablet, the one we broke," Alex shook his head. "Or it wants what was under the tablet." The vortex suddenly collapsed into itself, sinking violently back into the lake with a booming splash that sent waves crashing against the rocks. Then silence. Emma grabbed Alex's hand. "We need answers. If we leave without understanding what we unleashed, we'll get answers," Alex said. "But not here. We need to go somewhere safe first." "Where?" Alex glanced at the horizon. "Green. We'll get a motel, catch our breath, call someone who knows this history, someone who can help." Emma nodded reluctantly. "Okay, but we come back." Alex swallowed. "Yeah, we come back." They made it to the highway 2 hours later, dusty, exhausted and shaken. Alex flagged down a passing truck. The driver, an older man with sun-lined cheeks, rolled down his window. "You two stranded?" the man asked. Alex nodded. "Car broke down. Any chance you're heading toward Reno?" The driver eyed them, then the direction they'd come from. "You kids were down at Pyramid Lake," Emma hesitated. "Yes." "Why?" The man's expression changed. Not fear, recognition. "Get in," he said quietly. "I've got something you need to hear." Alex and Emma exchanged a glance, then climbed into the truck's worn interior. "Name's Warren," the man said, pulling onto the road. "And whatever you saw back there, it ain't the first time it's happened." Emma leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Warren sighed. "Pyramid Lake's been restless my whole life. People go missing, strange lights, storms that come out of nowhere, but last night," he shook his head. "Last night woke something I prayed would stay buried." Alex felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "What did we wake?" Warren's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Not a curse, not a spirit." Emma's voice trembled. "Then what is it?" Warren glanced at them in the rearview mirror, his eyes dark and grave. "An ancient thing the tribe called Taranak, the nameless one, the eater of souls. The curse kept it sealed under the lake, and now," he shook his head, "now it's free." The truck rumbled steadily down the long stretch of highway, but inside the cab the tension felt thick enough to choke on. Alex stared out the window at the endless desert, trying to make sense of Warren's words. Taranak, the nameless one, the eater of souls. He replayed the image of that swirling vortex, the shadows twisting through the water like something waking from a long sleep. His skin crawled. Warren's voice broke the silence. "What exactly did you two do out there?" Emma took a deep breath, her voice still shaky. "We broke something. A stone tablet under the lake. The Guardian said it would free the trapped souls. And it did. We saw them fade, but something else came out." Warren let out a low whistle. "Guardian? Haven't heard that name in a long time. My granddaddy used to tell tales about it. Said the Guardian was a spirit created by the tribe to keep Taranak locked away." Alex felt the blood drain from his face. "Locked away under the tablet?" Warren nodded. "Yep, that tablet wasn't just a seal. It was a boundary. Break-in, it freed the spirits, sure, but it also weakened the prison. And if something was strong enough to push through afterward," Emma swallowed. "Then it was waiting." The truck grew quiet. After a moment, Emma leaned forward. "Warren, what does this thing do, the nameless one?" Warren hesitated. "The stories are old, real old. Some say it's not a spirit, not a demon, not even a ghost. More like a shape made of the darkest parts of people. A hunger made real. Granddaddy used to say it ain't got a face 'cause it steals the faces of the ones it takes." Alex shivered. "So how do we stop it?" he asked. Warren shook his head. "Kid, you don't. Once it's free, the best you can do is stay out of its way, praying it doesn't find you." Then he added quietly, "Especially after you're the ones who woke it." Emma and Alex shared a terrified glance. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed outside. The truck jerked. Warren swore and pulled the wheel tight. A shadow darted across the road, so fast Alex almost questioned if he'd imagined it. "What was that?" Emma cried. Warren slammed the brakes. The truck screeched to a stop. All three sat frozen. The desert around them was still, too still. Alex's pulse thundered in his ears. "Warren, did you see that?" Warren didn't speak. His eyes were locked on something behind them. Slowly, Alex turned. At first, he thought it was the heat, a shimmer, a mirage. Then it moved, tall, narrow, shifting. A column of darkness standing in the middle of the road as if made of ink swirling in water. No face, no shape, just hunger. Emma clutched Alex's arm. "Is that—" "Don't look at it," Warren barked. But it was too late. The shadow twisted. A sound rose, a low, trembling whisper that felt like it wasn't entering Alex's ears but his mind. "A L-E," he gasped, gripping his temples. "E-M-M," as she cried out, covering her ears. Then the shadow stretched an arm-like appendage toward the truck. Warren fumbled for the ignition. "Hold on," the truck roared forward. But the shadow struck first. A blast of darkness slammed into the tailgate, sending the truck fishtailing across the road. Alex and Emma were thrown sideways. Warren fought the wheel with white-knuckled desperation. Come on," Warren shouted. The shadow lunged again. Warren yanked the truck sharply to the left. The tires caught the dirt shoulder. The vehicle lurched violently. Everything tilted. The world spun. The truck rolled. Alex heard Emma scream. Warren shout. A deafening crunch, glass shattering, metal twisting, then darkness. The next thing Alex felt was pain. Searing, heavy pain radiating down his side. He groaned, forcing his eyes open. The truck lay overturned on the sand. Smoke curled from the hood. The windshield was gone. "Emma," he dragged himself out of the shattered passenger window, ignoring the sharp sting of broken glass. "Emma," he shouted. A cough answered. He spotted her a few feet away, crawling out from the backseat wreckage. "I'm okay," she said hoarsely. "Alex, Warren," they both turned. Warren was slumped in the driver's seat, unmoving. Emma gasped. "No," Alex staggered to him, reaching through the broken door. Warren, can you hear me?" The old man's hand twitched. His eyes opened just barely. "Kids," he whispered. "Listen to me." Alex leaned closer. "We're here." Warren struggled to breathe. "There's a woman, lives near Sutcliffe. Name's Mara Redfeather, last of the tribe who guarded the lake. She knows how to fight it." Emma grabbed Warren's hand. "We'll find her. Just hold on," Warren shook his head weakly. "No time, it's coming." Alex's blood turned to ice. A cold wind swept across the desert. The shadows around them lengthened. Emma whispered, "Alex, behind us." He turned. The nameless one stood at the ridge above them, its form shifting and swirling, taller now, darker, almost solid. Warren's voice barely rose above a whisper. "Run!" Alex grabbed Emma's hand. And they ran. Alex and Emma sprinted across the burning sand, lungs heaving, hearts pounding. Behind them, the nameless one moved like a creeping storm, silent, inevitable, swallowing the light as it advanced. The desert felt endless. Their legs trembled with exhaustion. Their breaths came out in ragged gasps, but stopping meant death. Ahead, the wrecked truck grew smaller in the distance. Warren's last words echoed in their minds. "Find Mara Redfeather." Emma stumbled but caught herself. "Alex, how far is Sutcliffe?" Alex didn't slow. "A few miles, maybe more. We just keep going until we see a road, a house, anything." A howl rose behind them, not human, not animal. A hollow cry that made the air vibrate. Emma glanced back. "It's getting closer." Alex squeezed her hand. "Don't look at it, keep running." But Emma stopped. She froze, her eyes widened, her body went rigid. Alex skidded to a halt. Emma, what is it?" She didn't blink, didn't breathe. Her eyes reflected something behind him. Alex turned slowly. The nameless one stood only 20 feet away, its form now towering 20, maybe 30 feet of churning darkness. And for the first time, Alex saw it clearly. A face. Not its own, Warren's face, twisted in agony, shifting like smoke. Alex's stomach dropped. "No," the creature lifted its hollow, flickering head. A L-E, his knees buckled, his vision blurred. It was pulling at him, his fear, his thoughts, his memories. He felt the world dimming. A hand grabbed his wrist. Emma. She yanked him backward. Alex, look at me, don't look at it." Her voice snapped him back. He blinked hard. The world stabilized. The nameless one paused as if annoyed its hold had been broken. Emma tugged him. "We have to move now." This time, Alex didn't argue. They ran again. An hour passed, then another. Their legs were shaking uncontrollably. Their throats burned. Their feet felt shredded inside their shoes. But finally, the small cluster of buildings that made up the town of Sutcliffe appeared in the distance. Emma nearly collapsed with relief. We made it, we actually. A shadow flickered across the ground. Alex grabbed her. Inside, they dashed toward the nearest house. An old cabin with turquoise paint peeling from the door and a faded wooden wind chime creaking in the wind. Alex pounded on the door. "Hello, we need help, please." No answer. He hit the door again. "Anyone," Emma pointed. "Alex, the sign. Look." Hanging beside the doorframe was a wooden carving of an eagle and a snake intertwined, just like the symbols on the tablet. Alex stepped back. "This is her house, Mara Redfeather." Before he could knock again, the door clicked. It opened a few inches. A voice, deep, steady, unmistakably firm, spoke from the shadows. "Get inside, now." Emma and Alex rushed in. The door slammed shut behind them. Inside, the air was thick with incense and sage. Animal skins and tribal markings adorned the walls. A fire crackled in the hearth, though no one had touched it. At the center of the room stood a tall woman with long silver-black hair braided down to her waist. Her eyes were sharp, penetrating, watching them with a calmness that felt ancient. "You woke it," she said simply. Alex swallowed. "We didn't mean to. Meaning doesn't matter," she interrupted. "Taranak has hungered for centuries. The guardian seal is broken. And now," she looked out the window, eyes narrowing. "It hunts." Emma stepped forward. "Warren sent us. He said you know how to stop it." Mara closed her eyes briefly at the mention of his name. "Warren was a good man. I am sorry." Emma's voice trembled. "Can you help us?" Mara turned to face them fully. "I can." She lifted a carved wooden staff from the wall. Symbols glowed faintly along its length. "But you will not like what must be done." Alex and Emma exchanged a glance. "Whatever it is," Alex said, "we'll do it." Mara approached them slowly. "To defeat the Nameless One, you must return to the lake," Emma gasped. "No, absolutely not. We barely escaped." Mara raised a hand. "I do not ask because it is safe. I ask because it is the only way. Taranak was born in the depths. It must be ended in the depths." Alex clenched his fists. "How?" Mara held up the staff. "With this, the spirit binder. A weapon older than the tribe. But it requires a living vessel, someone the creature has already marked." Emma's breath caught. "Marked?" Mara's gaze fell upon Alex. Alex frowned. "Me? Why?" She stepped closer, lifting his chin gently. "Because it spoke your name, because it reached into your mind, because it tasted your fear." Emma shook her head. "No, he's not doing it. There has to be another way." Mara's face softened. "Child, there is not." Alex placed a calming hand on Emma's shoulder. "I'll do it." Emma spun toward him. "Alex, no, you don't understand what she's saying. This thing kills people. It steals them. It took Warren. It almost took you." Alex met her gaze steadily. "If I don't do this, it'll take everyone." A long silence filled the room. Finally, Emma bowed her head. "Then I'm coming with you." Mara shook her head. "You cannot. It hunts you both, but it wants him. You must stay behind." Emma lifted her chin defiantly. "I'm not leaving him." Mara studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. But understand this. The Nameless One will try to divide you. It will use your memories, your fears, your love. It will twist them into weapons." Emma whispered, "We've survived everything else. We'll survive this too." Mara extinguished the fire with a sweep of her staff. "Prepare yourselves. When the moon rises, we return to Pyramid Lake." Alex swallowed the rising fear. Emma took his hand, and together, with the last protector of the tribe, they stepped into the coming darkness. When you emerged from the basement, the storm outside had passed. Dawn washed the sky in pale gold and soft blue. Birds were beginning to sing, and for the first time since you returned, the house felt alive, but not in a way that frightened you. You took one last look around. The rooms were no longer suffocating. The shadows no longer whispered. The air no longer carried fear. You closed the door gently behind you. The story of the house would remain with you, not as a nightmare, but as a reminder. Sometimes the most haunted places are not cursed. They are waiting for someone to listen, waiting for someone to see them, waiting for someone to keep a promise they never knew they made. And you did. The house stood silent as you walked away, bathed in the soft morning light, its final secret at peace at last. The end.